Hey friend, welcome back to Seed and Sparrow Homestead. There's gonna be commotion. Little guy is playing with his tractors. I'm not totally sure what this video is going to entail. I know right now we're gonna go outside. We have rain forecasted for the next few days off and on, but right now I have a window, according to the radar, where there's no rain. And I know there's some things out there that do need to be pulled and harvested and brought inside. So we're definitely harvesting. Maybe we'll be preserving, maybe some other things, not so sure. But come along with me and we will figure it out. All right, first thing, onions are coming out. This year has been terrible for my onions. When they went into the ground, I had some sort of onion thief. I think it was a bird, took about 15 or 20 of them. And then I dealt with the allium leaf miners in my onion bed, in my garlic bed. I haven't noticed them over with the leeks yet. We will see. Kiddos are being nuts over there. So you can tell an onion, I don't know what that was. You can tell an onion is ready to harvest when the tops are bent over. They're not going to get any bigger. Yeah, so we're just gonna get these out of the ground. See how the onion tops are all bent over here? They've all fallen. That means they're ready. And all I'm going to do is just pull them out of the ground, shake the roots off, and then these will cure in the basement upside down on a rack for 2 weeks or so. That there is a sign of the allium leaf miner. You see all those like white streakings? Those are the marks they leave. Nasty buggers. Destroy everything. So my plan next year to help with prevention of the allium leaf miner, this fall I'm going to spray beneficial nematodes on all of, basically my entire yard. That should help with them. And then I'm going to switch up all of my beds that I have them growing in. I'm not going to grow in the same bed next year. And I'm also going to be netting them. Like as soon as they go into the ground, I am going to be covering them with the hoops and netting, and we're going to see if that helps at all. There's like 1, 2, I think there might be 4 in the whole bed that haven't bent over, so maybe I'll let those go and see if they get any bigger. The rest are coming out. Pretty puny little harvest, but they did their damage and just is what it is this year. I see the next harvest over there. You see in here these big, beautiful red peppers. These are called Ajvarski peppers. They are my favorite. Exceptional flavor. So good when roasted. I have canned these roasted. I have just frozen them roasted. You can freeze them without roasting them. Definitely a staple in my garden. No, just a little baby frog. We find these guys all of the time in the peppers and on the basil. Oh, he jumped down, kiddo. See if you can find him. He went down in there. Oh, there he is, right there.
There he is.
He's so cute. You should make a little habitat for him. There are a whole bunch more jalapenos. These are my mild, or no, these are my not jalapenos. So I'm thinking we'll be making some jalapeno poppers out of these to keep in the freezer. My kiddos are not fans of spice at all, so these work perfectly. All right, we've got some beans that need harvested. And then these are probably gonna get pulled. They're starting to get diseased. And then I have a fall round started inside that will take their place. Some of these beans aren't even looking so hot. I'm honestly kind of wondering why I started a fall round of beans, because I have beans coming out my ears. Like, they have just been super prolific. I really don't need any more. So I guess I will be giving a whole bunch away to whoever will take them. All right, next up, got more raspberries again. They're just producing so much this year. It's awesome. They're coming out morning and evening because they're just ripening throughout the day. So I'm gonna grab a container and see what I can find. But really quick, a tribute to the roses. They're all in bloom again. So here is Olivia Rose Austin by David Austin. Look at how delicate and perfect these little rosebuds are. Love them. Here is Lady of Shalott. Here. I love these little rosebuds too. They start off like real deep pink and they open into this like apricot color. Here is the red tea rose. I don't know what variety it is. It's something that we just got from the store a long time ago, and it's grown into this big beautiful bush. Not very fragrant though. This is Princess Alexandria of Kent. I love all their names. They're so fun. Another David Austin rose. Lots of little buds on this one. This here is crowned Princess Margareta, however you say it. Another David Austin. Super pretty, like champagne, but like the center is like an apricot. This up here is the Generous Gardener, another David Austin. This is one of my climbers, which is kind of going wild. I need to come in here and attach that to the trellis. All right, back to what I said I was going to do. We're gonna pick some raspberries. This whole area is gonna need an overhauling in the fall. I think I'm actually going to just prune them back entirely this fall, and I'm going to try and take some of the canes out. We'll see if some friends want them, but I mean, this is just a little bit unruly. So many canes in here. Who do you have? What's her name?
Rosemary.
That's Rosemary?
Rosemary. And I have all our chickens today. I have to take care of them.
Yeah.
So I am the chicken keeper right now.
Are you the chicken keeper?
Yeah.
Well, they love their keeper. Nice little raspberry haul. I found just a few straggler strawberries. And then these are the mild jalapenos, so I have them separated. I don't want to confuse them. I think the cucumbers are just about done for. They're all starting to get diseased, and I can't say I'm mad about it because I've been drowning in cucumbers. There's a few itty bitties that I'll let get a bit bigger, pick them, and then I am probably gonna tear this out because just they're really powdery mildew. They're just getting past their prime. So now I'm gonna tackle this mess and harvest some paste tomatoes. The cages did not do their job. There are 6 cages and paste tomato plants in there. And now it's just become a jungle with no walkways. But it's still producing, so it doesn't have to be pretty to produce food. Okay, I picked all these guys. I picked the ones that started to blush as well, because if I don't, something starts to eat them. So I'll just bring them inside. They'll sit on the counter for maybe a day or 2, and then we'll can them up. Gonna grab some more of these cosmic cherry petunias. I want to make sure I have enough to make our simple syrup. We're going to be doing some baking with them very soon, probably within the next 2 weeks or so. I'll get a video out. So grab all of these. They're just stunning. I love them. Look at that. That's purple larkspur. I think it's actually called blue larkspur. Larkspur. So pretty. Camera doesn't pick it up super well, but it's almost like a neon, almost iridescent purplish blue. Look at the size. Oh, it's huge. I think that's a pineapple. I think. We'll have to see. Just in case somebody did not know this, this is the patch where we harvested celery from a few weeks back, and I just like chopped it off at the base, leaving the base with the root in the ground, and it will regrow. So I will get a second harvest from this same planting. All right, I got everything harvested. We're gonna pick this up another day. I have some other things I need to tend to right now, and I don't have time to keep moving with preserving these things, so as soon as I get time, you'll see me again. I'm back. We've got a lot of work to do today. We're at like the peak of tomato season, so we're just overflowing here. This is most of what we picked together. I've allowed everything to ripen. I went out this morning and I picked out anything else that was ripe so we could just get it all preserved. I've got a few recipes in mind. I'm thinking bruschetta in a jar, some pizza sauce, and some ketchup. I'm gonna try that this year. I've tried ketchup before and I didn't love that recipe, so I'm trying a different one. All of our Ajvarski peppers, I'm gonna roast those. Not sure if we are gonna be canning those. There is a red roasted pickled pepper recipe from Ball. It's a bit more hands-on and time-consuming, and I'm just not sure I have the capacity for that today, so we might be freezing those. I've got the last harvest of cucumbers from the plant. They're getting ripped out. So maybe one more batch of pickles, or maybe some pickle relish. Again, not sure. And then I've got some green bell peppers I just picked this morning. We're just gonna dice those up and freeze them. So lots to do today. We also started school yesterday. We homeschool. So it's early in the morning. I'm hoping I can get all of this done today. But I do have to take a break and work on schoolwork with Eleanor for a little while. So I am gonna divide all this out, kind of separate what I need for each recipe, get out all of my extras, my other ingredients needed for each one, to hopefully make everything run just a bit smoother. Let's quickly go over what we need for each recipe. I haven't divided out my tomatoes yet, just the extra ingredients. So for the bruschetta in a jar, basil leaves, oregano leaves, white wine vinegar, white wine, and balsamic vinegar, some minced garlic. We're also gonna need some sugar and water for that one, besides our tomatoes. For the pizza sauce, gonna need some lemon juice, bottled lemon juice, garlic powder, pepper, and salt. And then we'll also need some oregano leaves for that one. And then for the ketchup, I need cider vinegar, we need cinnamon sticks, whole cloves, some celery seed, some whole allspice. We need 4 small onions, some cayenne pepper, sugar, and pickling salt. So now I'm gonna go through my tomatoes and divide them out for each recipe. Some call for just a plum or a paste tomato. Others do not specify. So I'm gonna go through and get all my plum tomatoes for the recipes that do specify, and then everything else will just get divided out for the others. Can you believe I had exactly enough tomatoes for these 3 recipes? So I have 9 pounds of the paste tomatoes for the bruschetta. I've got a mixture of tomatoes over here, but it's 24 pounds for the ketchup. And then I have 18 pounds here for a double batch of the pizza sauce. So that's 51 pounds of tomatoes that I harvested in the last 3 days. We're gonna start with our ketchup because I have to infuse some vinegar with spices, and that takes a bit of time. So I have my nut milk bag here. I like using these over cheesecloth. So I'm gonna throw all of my spices in here. It's gonna go into 3 cups of vinegar on the stove. We bring it to a boil, and then we remove it from the heat and allow it to sit for 25 minutes. So we need 3 tablespoons of celery seeds, 4 teaspoons of whole cloves, 2 cinnamon sticks broken into pieces, and 1.5 teaspoons of whole allspice. So I'm gonna get that into my bag, get this into the vinegar, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. While we're waiting for the vinegar to do its thing, we're gonna chop. So I've got my 4 onions, I have 24 pounds of tomatoes that need cored and quartered, and then we're gonna add those into this big old stock pot with the cayenne pepper. Bring that to a boil, allow it to gently boil for about 20 minutes. We're gonna add in our vinegar at that point, and then we allow everything to boil gently for another 30 minutes. Make sure everything's nice and softened, and then it will go through the food mill. So let's get chopping. Can we just appreciate the size of this tomato? I want to weigh it.
Yeah, it's massive.
It is massive. Let's see. Almost 2 pounds. 1.964.
That is very heavy, Mom. Right.
It's so beautiful inside. This is a pineapple tomato, so it has this yellow-orange flesh, and then this beautiful reddish-orange striping in throughout. Let me tell you, garden fresh onions, 1 slice into those things and I'm in tears. They're no joke. 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper is going in with the onions and the tomatoes. And then I'm gonna get this big old pot here on the stove. We're going to bring it to a boil. And then we're gonna make sure we're stirring, nothing is burning. Reduce the heat and allow it to boil gently for about 20 minutes. This has been going for 20 minutes. I'm going to add in my vinegar, my infused vinegar. We're going to discard the spice bag. All of those contents can get chucked. And then we're just going to add in our vinegar infusion to our tomatoes, onions, and cayenne. Stir this up. We're gonna bring it back to a boil. And then we're gonna reduce the heat, allow it to boil gently for about 30 minutes. Everything should be nice and softened and the mixture should begin to thicken. Okay, ketchup is cooking down. I'm gonna get to work on the bruschetta in a jar. The recipe does call for a plum style tomato. That's just a paste tomato. Paste tomatoes, like these are Roma's and Amish paste, they're a meatier tomato. They're not gonna have as much liquid in them as something like a slicer or a globe tomato would. You can use something that is not a paste tomato. The book recommends chopping them up. We're gonna do 1-inch pieces and then allowing the non-paste tomatoes to drain for about 30 minutes, trying to get off some of that excess liquid. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with a really liquidy bruschetta, and that's not what we want. I'm gonna use the paste tomatoes because they're available to me. So I'm going to core these, chop them into 1-inch pieces, set them aside, and then we will work on our vinegar mixture. This is a pretty simple recipe that'll be a quick win. It'll be nice to see something done and to get some of these tomatoes out of the way. You might hear some train noise in the background. Grant's playing with some trains right now. These paste tomatoes don't really have much of a core, like just a littlest bit. I'm just making sure to get like that part where the stem was connected off, and then I'm cutting them into about 1-inch pieces like this, putting them into a bowl off to the side till I have them all ready. And I did want to mention I'm a part of a few different safe canning groups, and this recipe has some mixed reviews, not in terms of safety, but in terms of how much people like it. Some people really enjoy it, others not so much. They have found that it loses some flavor over time on the shelf and kind of becomes bland. Now people were saying they've just remedied that by adding some extra sugar and balsamic when they go to serve it. So we will see how we like this. I don't really have a problem adding some things afterwards. I do want to see how it holds up, like structure-wise, because I don't want a mushy bruschetta. So I will keep you all posted on that. There's no more in it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll help you. I just thought this would be a fun thing to have on the pantry shelf. It's something a bit different. An appetizer kind of ready to go. I mean, I'd still have to make some bread, but I could always buy some and then it'd be a really quick appetizer. But something different for family gatherings, or we have friends over around the holidays, a nice little appetizer, a taste of summer during winter. Got my 9 cups measured out here of our plum tomatoes cut into 1-inch pieces. I'm going to get my vinegar mixture ready to get on the stovetop. 1 cup of white wine vinegar. Make sure it's at least 5% acidity. 1 cup white wine. 1/2 cup water. 5 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. 2 tablespoons of sugar. 2 tablespoons of dried basil. 2 tablespoons of dried oregano. And 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna stir this up, bring it to a boil over high heat. I'm gonna stir it occasionally. I'm gonna reduce the heat, cover and simmer for 5 minutes or until the garlic is heated through. And then we're gonna remove it from the heat. All right, on to canning. We're gonna get our tomatoes packed into our jar here for our bruschetta. I did have to push them down slightly in order to get a decent amount in the jar, which is just fine. Just know there's definitely going to be air bubbles when doing this, so you'll have to be diligent about getting them out. I added in the tomatoes to a generous 1/2 inch of headspace, and then I ladled in my vinegar mixture on top. I had to actually debubble during that whole process because I had them tightly packed. You kind of have to wiggle them around to get the liquid to go down through. So these get a 1/2 inch of headspace. We make sure we debubble, adjust headspace if needed, clean off the rims, apply new washed lids, and tighten the rings to fingertip tight. This is a really beautiful product though. I'm super excited to have it on the shelf. These will process in the water bath canner at a full rolling boil for 20 minutes. By the way, I'm really enjoying this single electric range. So nice and convenient to have, especially on these days when the stovetop is already full. I can only actually use one burner over there when it comes to canning because my microwave gets in the way of the big canning pots. So this is a great option. It is like the only one on the market that's actually rated for canning use. So if this would be helpful to you, it's down in the description below. Now I'm going to start work on the pizza sauce. This recipe, according to the ball book, requires a raw tomato puree. So where with the tomato sauce recipes, typically I would put them in the roaster first and soften them. This says specifically not to do that. So I am running raw tomatoes that I have chopped up to make it easier on the mill. I'm running it through there, getting all of the solids out, and ending up with a nice raw tomato puree. Okay, I have a big old mess here. I have all of my tomatoes put through the food mill. Got my raw tomato puree. Now I have 26 cups because I am doubling. So it said to put half of what you need into a stainless steel pot, bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna slowly add in the other half, a cup at a time, to maintain that boil, and then we're gonna add in our extra ingredients. So I'm gonna get this onto the stovetop. So this is what I have left over, the skins and the seeds from those 24 pounds I just put through the food mill. You can take this at this point and put it in the dehydrator. You could freeze dry it and then you can powder it up and use it to thicken tomato sauces, almost like a tomato paste. I have done that before and I have a whole bunch of it still, and space is at a premium here in our house. It's hard to come by. I don't need any more of this. I know I've had so many of you say, do you at least, do something with this? And I have in the past. I just don't need to anymore. So nothing goes to waste here. It goes out to the chickens and they will enjoy this very much. All right, to recap where we're at. The bruschetta in a jar is still in there, coming up to a boil. I find these graniteware canners take forever to come up to a boil. I can put everything in my big stainless steel pot and that'll come up to a boil within like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. It's been half an hour now and we're finally getting there. So that's what's going on there. We're waiting for the pizza sauce to start to come up to a boil. We'll add the rest of that as well as the rest of our ingredients to that. And then that will cook down for a little bit. So now I'm moving back to the ketchup and I have allowed this to cool off just a little bit. Where did I put it? And I'm just gonna start ladling this into my food mill here, and we're gonna set that to the side until this is all empty. I'm gonna put it back in here and this is going to cook down for a while. Okay, we have achieved a boil here on our pizza sauce. So I'm gonna start adding in some more of this tomato puree. Trying to maintain that boil. Keep stirring every now and then so nothing sticks or burns. Now, to be completely honest, I am not really sure the reasoning behind doing it this way rather than just putting everything right into the pot and bringing it up to a boil. I'm just doing what the book says, and this is how it says to do it. For one recipe, we're supposed to add in a 1/2 cup of bottled lemon juice. I'm doing a double batch, so I'm adding in 1 cup. Hopefully this all fits in here. I'm pushing it. The recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, so I'm adding 2. Calls for 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, so we're adding 2. Same with the black pepper, calls for 1, adding 2. For oregano, it says 2 teaspoons, we're gonna add 4. All right, I'm gonna get all this stirred in carefully here. We are going to bring this up to a boil. It says to continue at a hard boil for 15 minutes, stirring frequently until it's about the consistency of a commercial pizza sauce. I have found with nearly every ball recipe where you are thickening things and boiling them down, they underestimate. And I think, honestly, it's so they don't scare us off for how long we're gonna be standing over a stovetop. I am estimating this is probably gonna be on here for at least an hour until it cooks down to that proper consistency. But we'll see. And I know it really just depends on the water content of the tomatoes you were using. So we'll just see how long. If you would like, you can either add more or less of the seasonings it calls for. You can do that to your taste. I'm keeping them at what the book has here. We find that we like it that way, but you can add or take away the amounts if you'd like.
Back to our ketchup, I'm adding in 1.5 cups of raw organic cane sugar and 1/4 cup of pickling salt. When it comes to salt, whenever it specifies pickling salt, that is what I use. If it doesn't specify, I use my Redmond real salt.
All right, I just got my dishwasher loaded. Things are disastrous. Here, I'll show you in a second. I've got the ketchup and the pizza sauce boiling down. The canner is loaded with the bruschetta still. So I'm waiting. Now I'm gonna work on roasting those red peppers. So I'm gonna slice them in half, seed them, and get them underneath the broiler. But first, I gotta clean. Here is the current state of my kitchen. It is a disaster. So, before I do anything else, I can't even function like this. I'm gonna clean up and then we'll get started on the peppers. Okay, looking a little bit better. Definitely not perfect. I wasn't really going for perfect. I just needed more usable space and some order to the chaos. The dishes are still kind of in dire need of assistance, but I don't have time to do that right now, and I'll just wait for the dishwasher to free up. But now, Grant is awake, I gotta go grab him, and then we're gonna work on the peppers. Okay, I apologize. You're gonna be hearing a lot of background noise. The air conditioner's on, the canner's going, the dishwasher's going, the kids are playing. It is what it is, I'm just trying to work with it. So, we're working on roasting these peppers. I'm gonna slice them in half, take out the seeds. I'm gonna put them on a cookie sheet, skin side up, underneath the broiler about 6 inches below, and I'm gonna char these for about 6 minutes or so. After they come out, the skin's gonna start to peel off. I'm just gonna take off what I can. I'm gonna slice them or dice them and get them into freezer containers. I also decided I wanna make some chili starter, so I'm gonna reserve a few of these, dice them up, dice up my bell peppers, dice up some of my puny onion harvest to put in there, and then I also have some celery that's been sitting in the freezer. I'm just gonna mix in with this, so that way I can just keep all that together in a container and I can pull it out whenever I want to start a batch of chili. Dump that in a pot and kind of have some work done for me ahead of time. So, I've got my chopper here, and I'm gonna get to work.
Friend, I feel like I am just totally frazzled. I have just noticed with my last few videos, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm not able to be as creative and take as much time as I would really like to on these videos, so I apologize. I feel like I've been repeating myself, and you know, I am just a little bit burnt out from this season. It has been a very busy one. I've been struggling with health things as well, and honestly, I'm really looking forward to the garden slowing down and the slower season coming and being able to focus on some other things and putting a bit more effort back into my presentation. So bear with me and thank you for being here. The chili starter was really just all sorts of different amounts what I would typically throw into a pot, so whatever you like more of, use more of. I just threw it into some freezer containers and then I can bring that out whenever I want to make a batch of chili. I decided to slice up some of my different peppers here to freeze just like this for things like cheesesteaks and fajitas as well. When the roasted peppers came out of the oven, I sliced them up and they went into their own freezer bag.
Our bruschetta in a jar is finally done. I'm gonna pull that out here. I kid you not, I just spent about 15 minutes looking for this jar lifter. It was nowhere to be found. I thought I was going nuts that perhaps in my cleanup I put it away somewhere where I typically don't, because sometimes I do that. That's just mom brain. But no, Grant had it. He must have been using it to pick up choo-choo trains. So it was out in the kids' play area. But I found it, so that's all that matters. Our pizza sauce has cooked down enough. It cooked down by about half. It looks beautiful. The ketchup is nowhere near done. I have a feeling that's gonna take all night until it gets to the consistency of ketchup. It's really runny right now. These jars get filled to a 1/2 inch headspace, and we process them in the water bath canner at a full boil for 35 minutes. Smells so good. Something to keep in mind if you are canning all day long. This is for the new canners out there. Always make sure your jars have a 1 inch of water over the top of them after they've been submerged. Throughout the day, if you've been canning for a while, the water is going to evaporate. So you need to always make sure to add water back in if there isn't at least 1 inch of water over the top of them.
I kind of just threw my hands up in surrender after it was 9:30 at night, and this is the consistency of the ketchup. It had literally been on all day, and I'm at least okay with this. It's pretty thick, but not as thick as I wanted it to be, but it needed to get into the canner because I was very tired and I wanted to go to bed. So this got filled to a 1/2 inch of headspace again, and this gets processed in a water bath canner at a full rolling boil for 15 minutes. The cucumbers are gonna have to wait for another day. Did not get around to those. Plus I figured I've shown you pickles before. I can link that video here on the screen and down below for you if you want to go check that out. The rest of the jalapeno peppers, I ended up making jalapeno poppers for a gathering with friends this past weekend, and the beans got freeze dried. All in all, I ended up with 9 half pints of the bruschetta, 6 pints of pizza sauce, 6 pints of ketchup, 6 freezer containers of the chili starter, 1 bag of sliced peppers, and 1 bag of roasted peppers. And I just can't believe that you can go from all of this produce and this is what you end up with. It may not seem like a lot, but you know, those jars and containers are jam-packed with goodness. Alright you guys, that wraps up today's video. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I appreciate you all so much. I'm going to take a well-deserved break and go snuggle and play with my babies, rest and refuel until the next batch is ready for preserving. Blessings on your day, friend. I will see you next time. Take care.